Institute of Allied Health and Technology. So this webinar actually is being presented by SIAT, or Skokie Institute of Allied Health and Technology. And we basically would like to inform our audience regarding fitness trainers and fitness trainer as a profession. Fitness trainers, today's topic is nutrition, body composition, and performance. So when you are training clients, including normal clients that do not are not athletes, and clients who are athletes, there are certain things that fitness trainers need to keep in mind in order to make sure that they are successful. So first, an introduction. SIAT is Skokie Institute of Allied Health and Technology. We are a nonprofit education organization that strives to provide the community with hands-on training and education. And the purpose is to lead to economic independence in entry-level positions. Our biggest focus is on students. We value the student learning approach, and that's why our learning management system is the one that we use specifically for our students, so the students are able to work full-time and also focus on their assignments. Second one is commit to diversity. We ensure that our organization attracts, develops, respects, motivates, and retains highly skilled students without regards to the race, gender, ethnicity, disability, personal background. We do not look at any of that. We make sure that our students are diverse and they are willing to learn and take part in their career training. Strengthen relationship with partners. The purpose is to build, retain, and strengthen our relationship. We work with different partners to ensure that our students get the best experience in their externship and also are able to get hired. So why would you like to join our institution? The purpose is, first of all, we are adult focus, industry focus. Individuals working full-time can continue working and getting the education they need at their convenience. We have career-focused opportunities that help our students get employed in their fields. We also offer free counseling to students, including resume building, free resume help, interview techniques, and then free seminars. One example of the seminar is this seminar. It's a free webinar for anybody who ever was looking into going into fitness trainer, is interested in fitness, and would like to help community. And this is an example of one of them. So today's objectives is, as a fitness trainer, we need to remember and keep in mind the following guidelines, that when we're working with clients or athletes, we need to keep in mind what type of exercise we are prescribing to them, because we need to see if it's an athlete or if it's a client that's starting exercise for the first time. Then we also need to explain to them and keep in mind the effects of various carbohydrate diets on muscle, glycogen, and also on our performance. And then we also need to know what is the classic method of achieving maximum energy for the muscle, which is glycogen, and potential problems if we ask clients to ingest glucose right after a strenuous exercise. Strenuous exercise would mean any exercise that is high intensity. Also, we need to ensure that our clients do understand and do know the importance of blood glucose, because glucose is our main fuel that our body utilizes for our daily routine, including exercise or any other regular activity. We also need to make sure that our client is aware of fluid replacement strategies. Also, salt requirement if it's an athlete or if it's an individual who does not work out regularly or is joining the field for the first time. Recommended range of nutrient intake. So basically, our diet should include 45 to 65 calories from carbohydrates, 20 to 35 from fat, and then 10% from protein. So when we keep talking about glycogen, glycogen is the storage form of glucose, the source of human energy that is derived from carbohydrates. So basically, we eat sugars, we take sugar in coffee, we eat rice, we eat spaghetti. All these foods are rich in carbohydrates, and when they go into our body, they are stored in the form in the glucose as our main glucose source that the body would utilize when it doesn't have any food or any or we have not taken any food, or there's a surplus requirement of energy because what we ate is not enough for our body to continue working. So in that case, glycogen is that storage form. It's stored in our human liver and some in muscles. Protein and fat, whichever we utilize, are all changed and converted to glycogen. Carbohydrate diets and performance. So we talk about carbohydrates, we talk about the importance of energy reservoir. Muscle glycogen basically is the glycogen or the storage form that muscle has. So our muscles do have an glucose, and the glucose is depleted when we or is take it's taken away when we have heavy exercise. Time to exhaustion related to initial muscle glycogen store. The first initial source basically comes from muscle while exercises. Most important in events at high levels, basically endurance means how much you can perform. So if you are supposed to take a marathon or run for maybe 2-3 hours a day, then you need a diet that is high in glycogen and in carbohydrates. Because the muscle glycogen within 1 hour to 2 hours will be depleted. If you have been running or performing extreme exercise for the first 2 hours, your body will utilize your muscle glucose, and the muscle glucose will be depleted by 1 hour. Now your body needs other form of glycogen or glucose in order to keep going. So that's where your carbohydrate content comes in. That's where your food consumption that you took before, that you ate before you came in to exercise or to do a running or take part in a marathon will come in. That is known as glycogen muscle supercompensation. So depletion basically means that if you have been working out and you have been doing strenuous exercise, the biggest example is nowadays high intensity in interval training is very has become very popular. It's period and strokes of really high intensity exercise followed by maybe 2 to 3 seconds of rest. At that point, your body needs a great amount of glucose or glycogen. And that is the time when your body can also go into glycogen depletion. So depletion means your body doesn't have any glycogen to go. So in that case, I'm sorry. In that case, you need to make sure that your body is taking glycogen or you're eating food after that exercise. So what is glycogen supercompensation? Glycogen supercompensation is when your muscles are able to hold a greater amount of glycogen than they normally would be. It doesn't make you feel fuller. It doesn't make you feel heavy. It doesn't make you feel pumped. You have your muscles. Your muscles are able to hold glycogen. They don't look like they have been puffed up, or the person, in other words, doesn't look fat. But what it does is that it gives them stamina, the athletes or their clients stamina in order to continue exercise. Classical method is prolonged. So the way how to you use your muscles more for them to increase their affinity towards glycogen is first there are two methods. There's a classical method and there's a modified method. Classical method would be that a lot of the athletes would use. So you as a fitness trainer would make sure that if your client is an athlete and he's running or he or she is running a marathon, he or she needs to make sure that their body is super composed or has excessive glycogen for them to be able to continue that marathon. So classical method is prolonged strenuous exercise and a high fat protein diet for 3 days while continuing to train. So the person has to have a fat or a protein diet. Remember, everything that you eat, especially proteins and fat, are converted to glycogen. 90% carbohydrate diet for 3 days with inactivity, meaning during that time when they're eating 90% of food and they do not, and they are preparing for a marathon, they should not be doing strenuous exercise while they are consuming for high fat diet. The modified plan would be what we provide to our regular clients. Our regular clients would be the ones that go to high intensity interval training, or they are exercising because they want to stay fit, but they're not athletes. You give them workouts of 40 to 90 minutes over several days, and you prescribe them a diet that consists of 50% of carbohydrates. Then you give them 2 days of 20 minutes workout while eating while their diet is 70% carbohydrates. So in other words, they can eat breads, cereals. Now the type of carbohydrate diets that they have to take also needs to be kept in mind. You all, as a fitness trainer, need to make sure that the carbohydrates would be coming from sources that are not fattening carbohydrates, meaning not direct glucose. They need to be converted into glycogen when they get into our body. So the best would be legumes, cereals, spaghetti. Then take 24 hours. So our body takes 24 hours to replenish muscle glycogen, and it requires ingestion of 500 to 600 grams of carbohydrate. So our clients, whether they're athletes or they are regular clients who do not exercise, need to keep that in mind. And we as a trainer need to make sure that their diet is glycogen or 60 to 70% carbohydrate. Then carbohydrate intake prior to a performance. So we also talk to clients as a fitness trainer to see what type of carbohydrates and how they should be taking the carbohydrates. Carbohydrate intake prior to exercise can cause faster glucose utilization, and it can also cause a faster loss of glucose in the blood while exercising. So the person, in other words, if whether they are athletes or they're regular customers, we see a lot of customers like that. They start exercising, they had a high fat diet, a high carbohydrate diet just right before 5-10 minutes before exercise, and they start feeling dizzy or they start vomiting. It's because the blood glucose falls really quickly. So we need to make sure what type of so in other words, eating what type of foods they can consume, like banana is a good alternative. Cereals, oatmeal is good. Something that will increase the blood levels slowly and decrease the glucose level slowly while they're exercising. So it will provide them with continuous glucose, and they will not feel faint, or they not feel lightheaded, or not have vomiting episode right after or during exercise. So recommendation basically diets that have greater glucose and insulin responses. So like the diets I just mentioned, hypoglycemia, which is low blood glucose, can occur by any chance, it can occur if the person has been, depending on the type of carbohydrate they're eating. So eating a chocolate before exercise is not really a good, is not a good diet. And in order to minimize the risk of hypoglycemia, they should take basically 5 minutes before the diets that I mentioned, like cereals. Milk is a very good alternative. They can drink milk, banana, um, oatmeal 5 to 10 minutes before exercise, or they can also do it right after warm up. Um, Now, if it's an athlete, it doesn't matter because the athlete already has enough glycogen in the body, but you as a fitness trainer need to make sure that if your client is a regular client, has never run a marathon before and now is preparing for it because they feel like they need to lose weight and they need to get fit and they need to have endurance, then we need to guide them through this, making sure that their carbohydrate intake is very, very um, it's carbohydrate intake is necessary. But if it's an athlete who's done this before, who's been running marathons, and he or she's coming to you because they want to make sure that they want to win that marathon, then the type of glucose or carbohydrate diet that they take right 5 or 10 minutes after, within does not matter. Carbohydrate ingestion can maintain plasma glucose even as glucose is depletion. So basically, if the person is taking carbohydrate in their diet, it will maintain the plasma glucose because glucose is the main source of energy. Our brain, our muscles, our heart, all our body requires glucose in order for us to stay alive, just even breathe, which is a normal part of our living. Uh, we need to make sure that that we have glucose in our diet. If we are not taking glucose in our diet, then we are eating proteins and fat, which then are converted into glucose. So the pathway to change them and for by our body is the same. It can be ingested through exercise, and the purpose is to prevent fatigue. So person is not going to feel tired. So these are some numbers, how many grams, like 30 to 60 grams of carbohydrate is required per hour, depending on the type of exercise they're doing. So if it's an athlete, they might require more. Some athletes and some clients will go with a glucose solution, so or a carbohydrate solution. So in other words, would be a glucose solution. That means if they are running a marathon or performing a high intensity interval training, then they require 375 to 750. In other words, 2 to 3 glasses of glucose. Caffeine increases carbohydrates absorption, and protein increases performance because protein keeps you fuller longer compared to glucose. That's why adding protein in the diet instead of eating pure glucose is actually much better. Some people also prefer using a carbohydrate rinse, a mouth rinse, like you'll take a drop or you'll take an orange drop or you'll take a glucose drop or a tablet. That also helps with performance. So example can be 2 to 4 cups of sports beverage, 1 to 3 energy gels, 6 to 12 Jolly Ranchers, and 8 to 16 lemon drops. So these are type of carbohydrates that a person can take when they are when they are performing a marathon or running. Carbohydrates intake post performance. So as a fitness trainer, we also need to make sure that after an extreme exercise, our carbohydrate intake is enhanced and our clients do not feel the effect of post tiredness. So in that case, or getting tired or getting sore, because soreness is one of the main symptoms that people a lot of times feel, and clients who are not regular athletes can get discouraged with that because if they did in a high intensity interval training, the soreness can get them very, very upset. It's a lot of pain. So in that case, glycogen synthesis is, first of all, we need to explain to them that glycogen synthesis is increased. Synthesis means glycogen production in our body is increased. Because now, because of the exercise, the high intensity interval training, the athletes that we already have serving as clients will be aware of it, and you're not going to hear them complain that much. They might complain for soreness, they might complain that, oh, I'm tired, but they're not going to complain about, about pain. And the purpose for that is because, again, a client who is actually exercising for the first time or doing an interval training for the first time is now looking at the effects, which are good effects, not bad effects. So glycogen synthesis is increased after exercise because now our muscles need to repair. The muscles will have will increase their tolerance to glucose. So explaining to our client that they need to take diet high glucose is a good idea. Letting them know they can take spaghetti, they can eat cereals, they can eat spaghetti with meatballs. It's okay. Carbohydrates should be consumed immediately after exercise. We need to let them know within 30 seconds they have to eat something that, at that point, if they take a sugar bar or a chocolate bar, it's okay. But they should not take a whole bar, because a lot of times some people complain of feeling nauseated. So we need to give them like an amount, maybe half a bar or one little piece of chocolate or a Snicker bar is okay. Food that have that raise your glucose slowly and retain it for longer are better. For example, the oatmeal. It also helps the clients in improving and also increasing muscle weight. Plus, we need to let them know that if they add protein, which is meat, chicken, lean chicken, fish in their diet is actually better, because that reduces carbohydrates resynthesis, and then it also increases protein synthesis in the muscles, because muscles need protein to repair themselves. So now protein intake. So protein intake must be done right after workout, within 1 hour. So that's why you see a lot of fitness trainers letting go and take a protein drink or a protein shake right after exercise. The best one is milk. So if you don't want to, if your client doesn't want to spend that much money on protein shakes, they don't have to. You can tell them that they can take milk, which is a very good exercise, a post-exercise drink. Adding chocolate or adding a tonic in there as a part, or Nescafe, for example, increases their protein intake. Carbohydrate and protein together is very good. That's where protein drinks come in, because they have an amount of protein and they have an amount of carbohydrates. But milk has carbohydrates also. So it increases the insulin response. Our insulin, which is the main hormone that helps with digestion, keeps our glucose level, also starts to become active when a person has exercise. Now, how much protein you should tell your client to take is 25 grams. In other words, one steak 2 times would be good. And 35 to 40 grams protein plus 84 grams or 70 to 84 grams of carbohydrate. So they can take spaghetti with meatballs, they can take lasagna, they can take fish with peas and pasta, which covers all of this requirements. Now, fluid replacement is also a very important factor. So fluid replacement that we need to ensure that our client, whether they are athletes or they are regular clients, especially regular clients who have not performed high intensity workout before, or who have never had a marathon before and they're preparing for the first time, we need to make sure as their fitness trainer that they retain their fluid. So we can't be with them at a time. We might not be, but we need to explain to them to keep them from getting focused and remaining focused in their plan, that they don't, and also to prevent discouragement, because a lot of clients can get discouraged. So we need to let them know that our body loses 2% of water when we exercise. and it increases depending on the exercise. So if we are doing performing a marathon, you're gonna sweat more, your body's gonna release more and more water. So we need to replace electrolytes that are also important in addition to our glucose and our proteins that we lose in our body. Our important electrolytes are sodium, potassium, chlorine, and magnesium. All of these are very important in muscle regularity and in our brain regularity. And our heart functions. So they are also important for functions of tissue, enzymes, and hormones. In other words, these electrolytes are the main electrolytes that we cannot um, ignore. So we need to explain it to our. So weight loss doesn't only mean that they are losing the weight. We also need to make sure they don't become malnourished, because that's one of the things that we need to be. And malnourishment can occur when they sweat a lot and they're not replenishing, they're not taking back the electrolytes and water that they lost. So optimal water electrolyte replacement is required before exercise, during exercise, and after exercise. So if your client takes Gatorade with them, that is a good idea, because Gatorade is rich in all these electrolytes. But it should only be consumed when they perform a high intensity exercise. So goal is to replenish water, electrolyte, and muscle glycogen. So that's our main purpose. We, as a fitness trainer, we need to let them know and explain to our clients who are athletes and regular clients who are not athletes, that we need to replenish our lost water, electrolytes, and muscle glycogen. And for that, we need to let them know they need to take 1.5 liter fluid for every kilogram of weight loss. So in other words, they need to keep on drinking water while they're exercising, and keep on drinking two glasses of water to 3 glasses of water after the exercise. 30 to 50 milliequivalent of NaCl. So basically what it means that we lose sodium. So if they're not taking Gatorade because they don't like Gatorade, then they can add table salt in their water that they're drinking, and that will equal the amount of salt that they lost. 50 grams of carbohydrate per hour. So that can be achieved by taking eating a spaghetti. Now let's say if they can't at that time because they didn't get to it, then the best thing for them to be prescribed is a cold drink. So Coke, Pepsi has all these that we need and will help the client replenish all the glucose, the electrolytes that they have lost. Then skim milk or milk is also very, very effective. So if they don't want to drink Coke because this is a client that wants to lose weight and is on a strict weight loss diet, then we need to let them know that they can have skim milk, because skim milk will take care of all these electrolytes and muscles that they were able to lose. So this was one of our, we are almost out of time. Salt is another one that's, like I mentioned, salt also needs to be replenished. So we can, like I had mentioned, add salt in water if they're not taking Gatorade. They can add a little salt in their meat if they lost a lot of salt because now the athlete or the client is starting to feel the symptoms, dizziness and weakness, and they're just drinking regular water. Then we can tell them to take salt pills, which is salt tablets. We are almost out of time. This was a short training from one of our courses, our programs at Skokie Institute of Allied Health and Technology. It's fitness trainer. So classes will be starting April 17. You can visit our website at http www.siaht.org. You can also call us at 847-461-3985. You get a free tablet when you register for the spring term. You can go to this link to register for your program. The registration fee is $30, and once you register and you fill out the form, you will then be if you would like to visit the office, then you can call us and we'll set up an appointment for you to visit our office to talk in more detail about the program. The program is 40 weeks long, is consists of 4 terms. In the first term, you learn about anatomy, physiology, and medical terminology. In the second term, you learn about exercise, theory, and physiology, and business of personal training. Then in the third term, you have one class that you take, exercise, theory, and physiology. And in your last term, as a student, you will then be completing your externship. While you're on your externship, once you go to your third term, you have only one class that you need to take. And at that term, we will then talk to NAFC, which is National Association for Fitness Trainers, fitness certifications for you to be start preparing to sit for the NAFC certified personal trainer exam. Once you get on your externship, our goal is for you to be certified and